Okay, so I have this beautiful table here that I made, and it is not complete. All I need to do is put some epoxy. So today I want to show you how I'm going to do that. Stick around. One of the things that I like to do before epoxy is to level the table. So I'm going to work on that right now. So we're done leveling this guy. We're done leveling that. So here we are getting ready to start mixing the epoxy. One of the things that I like to do, it's the stirring stick has this rounded edge and we want to make it flat. I cut that off to make it flat. And I'm just using my 10 snips. Overkill, but it works. So the next thing we're going to do is the epoxy needs to be measured by equal volume. So here I'm going to use this measuring cup here because it gives you these very clear numbers that you can see. You could also look from the inside as you're pouring so that you can see where you're going up to. So I'm going to start with this A side first. We're going to do our best not to create any bubbles. I'm going to go ahead and put it in this mixing cup. Make it hit the side to try to avoid creating bubbles. Wipe off any debris. And I'm going to clean this measuring cup. Remember, we got to get equal parts. Now with a clean measuring cup, now we're going to do the B side. And right there. So in case you're wondering what I'm using, it's called Amazing Clear Cast Aluminite. You can find it in the description below. And they have so many options for epoxy. Depending on how I do, I may be tackling another project that has been on my mind to do the kitchen countertops, and I may be contacting Alumilite for some pointers on what to use for that countertop. So anyway, we only have a certain amount of time to get this mixed. So we're gonna go ahead and get this guy poured in here. Alright, now we're going to mix this very slowly, trying to avoid swirls. I'm going to do this for about 5 to 6 minutes. So we're still mixing here, trying to be gentle not to create any bubbles. Scraping the bottom, scraping the sides, moving this thing all around. My shop is a little dark and it's raining today, so it's gonna be a little hard to see what I'm doing, but I'm still mixing here. I'm almost done. Once I'm done, I'm gonna pour this. I'm gonna do a flood pour. And then with this, I bought this a cheap plastic spatula, disposable. I'm gonna spread it throughout the whole table here. Make sure there's no debris on this. So before I started, I sanded down this table with 120 grit. It used to have another protective coat. Took it off. I didn't like it, and like I said before, I wanted to try this epoxy. So now here we are, ready for this. I put some tape underneath here so that whenever the epoxy runs down, and I'll use my hand, wear gloves, latex gloves or whatever, if you know, wear some kind of protection gloves when you're handling this, and when it runs down you can just wipe it off, and hopefully the tape is just plastic tape. Just Scotch tape. Hopefully the epoxy will not adhere to it and I can just peel it right off. One of the things that you have to keep in mind as well is the time, the season where you live. If you do it in the winter and you have a shop, make sure that the temperature in your shop is above, I'll have to look it up, I think it's 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Today it's not a problem. It is very hot here where I live. It's about 90 degrees and very humid. So we're gonna pour this. Perhaps I'm gonna do it now. I think it's ready. Everything looks very clear. There's no swirls. There's no fogginess. It's very clear. So I guess I'm gonna go ahead and do it, and I'll spread it. spreading all the epoxy, and because I didn't know how much I needed, it was a guesstimate. Go ahead and spread all of it like this. And I need some more. I'll mix whatever is left and pour it here. I'm hoping this is all I need. And get it done. Wiping off the edges. I'm going to come back and redo the edges. Right now I'm just trying to get an even coat all the way around. This epoxy is self-leveling, so once we spread it all out, we're going to leave it alone. We're going to allow it to level. Touch up the sides, make sure the sides get epoxy. So now the next step is to work out the bubbles. I'm just going to use a torch. I don't have a heat gun. So here we are 24 hours later. I had to do a second coat. I didn't have enough epoxy to complete the job. And one thing to keep in mind is how much debris can land on your finished product. So be careful if you have bugs, be careful if you have dust, be careful if you have children. Keep that in mind before you take on the task. It's not perfect, but I'm gonna keep it the way it is. My next project, I'm gonna try to do better. I'm happy with the finished results, and the next step is going to be to purchase legs for it. And I'm gonna go ahead and start taking this plastic tape off, and I'll purchase the legs. Show you what it looks like after I install the legs.